Welcome to Animal DNA, our extraordinary expedition through the animal kingdom. We'll explore the unique traits and characteristics of animals of all kinds, how species relate to one another, and ways in which they survive and thrive in their diverse environments around the planet. And so our journey begins. Today, we're going deep below the surface to swim with some of the most intriguing fish, from the salty seas to the fresh, crystal clear waters of rivers and lakes across our blue planet. Fish are classified into three main classes according to their anatomy. Cyclostomy are jawless fish like lampreys and hagfish. Chondrichthyes are fish that have skeletons made of cartilage like sharks and rays. And last, but not least, osteichthyes account for the remaining fish, which all have skeletons made from bone. There are almost 28,000 species of fish. They share many characteristics, including that they all live in water, though the kinds of water vary greatly. They are all vertebrates, meaning they have a backbone or spinal column. They all have mouths, even the cyclostomy, despite not having jaws. They have gills which they use to breathe underwater. They have scales and rigid plates that grow on their skin for protection. They have fins for movement and balance. They are oviparous, meaning they lay eggs, like birds, only they fertilize their eggs externally. Most fish are ectothermic, meaning they are cold-blooded, and their body temperature changes with the temperature of the surrounding water. Fish usually consume algae, plants, small particles, and small animals, such as shrimp, worms, and larvae, depending on their size. And as we can see, they can be very diverse, colorful, and beautiful. Saltwater fish live in the oceans and seas, and span from tropical waters to the deep, frigid Arctic regions. Freshwater fish, on the other hand, live in lakes, rivers, streams, and ponds. One of the main differences between freshwater and saltwater fish is how their kidneys have adapted to their environments. Saltwater fish have not developed the renal glomeruli, which is a tiny network of blood vessels that help clean the kidneys and cause the water they ingest to pass through the gills. Freshwater fish have evolved cells capable of absorbing salts such as chloride and sodium into their blood. This means that freshwater fish have developed a system that allows them to compensate for the loss of salts and gain an abundance of water. Saltwater fish already live in highly salty environments, so they haven't needed to develop adaptive capabilities. Through osmosis, they can expel body fluids and recover water by drinking it. Therefore, fish from a salty environment need to drink water, something freshwater fish do not require. There are some exceptions, such as salmon. You may be familiar with this fish on your dinner plate, but did you know it's anadromous? Meaning it's capable of adapting to both salt and freshwater environments. Salmon are born in freshwater, but when they grow and develop, they migrate to saltwater. Then, they return to freshwater to reproduce, in many cases, returning to the same place where they hatched. With some species, it can be hard to tell whether a fish is male or female just by looking at it. You can determine the sex of a fish by inspecting its reproductive organs, which are located towards the top of the intestinal cavity. In some species, males have humps on the back of their necks, as in the case with tilapia, angelfish, tigerfish, and discus fish. Meanwhile, male guppies are recognized by their larger fins. Though large fins don't always mark a male fish, in koi species, females are the ones with the larger, more prominent fins. Male tigerfish grow bristles during the reproductive stage. Male catfish are more aggressive than their female counterparts. In some very progressive fish species, gender is genuinely a construct. Snook and bream fish can be both male and female at the same time. As we already mentioned, most fish are oviparous, meaning they lay eggs. The eggs can be laid on the bottom of the sea, stuck to rocks, or just set afloat in the ocean. Now let's take a closer look at the gills, those slits on the sides of fish that allow them to take in oxygen through the water. They appear as skinny, vascularized membranes, but underneath their skin, they are joined by bony arches called branchial arches. The number of branchial arches vary by species. They can be found in chambers located symmetrically on either side of the body, behind the head. Cartilaginous fish, such as sharks or rays, usually have 5 branchial arches. Other less evolved fish may have 6 or 7. Bony fish, such as salmon, hake, trout, cod, or bonito, usually have 4 gill arches in their respiratory system. A fish's respiratory system operates on a countercurrent exchange system. The name comes from the fact that the blood in the gills circulates opposite the water current. This allows more oxygen to be extracted from the water. Fish that inhabit shallow waters, where oxygen levels vary, or the oxygen concentration in the water may decrease at certain times of the year, can breathe air directly. This adaptation is a direct result of their environment. They can breathe air in a variety of ways. For example, some manage a degree of oxygen absorption through their thin skin or by swallowing air directly from the surface. Other fish, like various families of catfish, absorb air through their digestive tracts. We'll learn more about the catfish after the break. We'll be right back with more Animal DNA. Welcome back to Animal DNA. Let's see if you can answer this trivia question. Which of the following sea creatures are fish? A. Manta rays. B. Whales. C. Sea snakes. D. Dolphins. If you answered A. Manta rays, you got it right. Manta rays and stingrays are close relatives of sharks and other cartilaginous fish. Like other members of their group, their skeletons are made of cartilage instead of bone. Their skin is covered by dermal denticles, or tough scales, for protection. Dolphins and whales and their close relatives are not fish, but mammals. They belong to the order Cetacea, which also includes porpoises. As with other mammals, they are warm-blooded, breathe air through their lungs, and give birth to live young that feed on their mother's milk. Sea snakes are not fish either. Hydrophini is a subfamily of venomous snakes that includes most sea snakes and some land snakes from Australasia. Back to fish. Let's take a look at how they're able to glide through the water so gracefully. Their movement all comes down to their fins, those characteristic external appendages on fish bodies. Fins are supported by the skeleton and are the main means of locomotion for fish. Upon first glance at a fish, you may assume that fins are fins, and they all do the same thing. But, in fact, each set of fins has its own purpose. There are dorsal or side fins for stability and maneuvering that keep them upright. Caudal or tail fins act as the main motor and steer it like a rudder. Anal fins also stabilize and help maneuver. Pectoral fins behind the gills serve as the brakes. They remain folded as fish swim and open when they stop. And, last but not least, the pelvic fin helps provide speed. Actinopterygian fish are bony fish with ray fins, hence why they are more often known as ray-finned fish. When you imagine a fish, you're most likely picturing a ray-finned fish. About 99% of all fish species have ray fins. Sarcopterygian fish are bony fish with lobe fins. Lungfish are an example of these fish, which descended from amphibians. Like humans, fish have a closed circulatory system with a heart that pumps blood through a single circuit throughout the body. The blood goes from the heart to the gills to the rest of the body before returning to the heart to start the circuit again. mouth and eyes have different shapes and positions depending on the natural environment and living habits of the fish. Different mouth shapes can account for different species' method of feeding. Surface fish, such as betta splendens, have a mouth that's pointed upwards. Bottom-feeding fish, which feed by scavenging the ground or scraping the substrate, have a mouth that points downwards. Meanwhile, predators have forward-pointing mouths. Other fish, such as cory catfish, have sensory barbels, slender, whisker-like organs near the mouth for digging in the sand. Fish brains are generally considered small compared to their body size when measured up to other vertebrates. However, they have developed sensory organs and the ability to feel pain. They also have a sense of taste and smell. The lateral line is a visible line that runs along the side of a fish that contains small sensory organs that detect currents and vibrations. This enables them to avoid collisions and orient themselves. Although fish have ears, many are not able to perceive sounds. Though the few species that can detect sounds occur in the 50 to 3000 Hz range. For context, the hearing range for a person with normal hearing is roughly 20 to 20,000 Hz. So the majority of fish have very limited hearing. But there are some fish which are even sensitive to ultrasound, which is in the hearing range of bats and runs up to 180,000 Hz. Fish exhibit fear and pain responses. They are also capable of communicating through sounds, such as thumps, squeaks, grunts, heartbeats, and purrs. They do this to mate, orient themselves, and scare off predators. They perceive colors and have good eyesight, comparable to that of humans. We'll be right back with more Animal DNA. Welcome back to Animal DNA. Let's see if you can answer this trivia question. Which of the following sea creatures are fish? A. European eels. B. Moray eels. C. Conger eels. D. Chimeras. This is a bit of a trick question. The answer is all of them. Eels, moray eels, and conger eels may look like sea snakes, but they are all actually members of the fish family. The European eel is a fish with an elongated, cylindrical, brown body and white belly. However, its coloration varies at different stages of life. The moray eel is a bony fish that comprises of around 200 species, most of whom live in saltwater, though some can be found in brackish waters. They are known for their protruding dorsal fin and serpentine swimming. Conger eels contain some of the largest eel species, with some reaching 6 feet in length or longer. With wide mouths and sharp teeth, these predators can have a menacing appearance, and, as with the moray eel, conger eels can be dangerous. Chimera are cartilaginous fish that have been dubbed ghost sharks, or ratfish. They are the only survivor of the subclass Holocephali. They possess a primitive, prehistoric appearance of their long-extinct ancestors, even though they continue to roam the oceans today. Now that we know more about general fish characteristics, let's take a deeper dive into individual species. Let's start with some of the aquarium favorites. Clownfish are well-known saltwater tankfish, thanks to the movie Finding Nemo. They are members of the family Pomacentridae, a subset of ray fin fish, which includes damselfish. They group in colonies to ensure the survival of their young and protect themselves from predators, which are numerous. They can be found in the Red Sea, Pacific and Indian Oceans, the Great Barrier Reef of Australia, Thailand, Malaysia, and Taiwan. They measure an average of 4 inches long and weigh only 0.3 ounces. Another colorful common aquarium fish is the neonfish, or tetra. These little speedsters are a feast for the eyes, thanks to their bright red and blue bands. These freshwater fish come from South America and are only comfortable in schools. If you're looking to add them to your tank, you'll need to get at least a half dozen. They measure about 1.5 inches long. The guppy fish is another aquarium mainstay. These 2-inch freshwater fish hail from countries around the Caribbean. Like the guppy fish, the southern platyfish, or common platy, belongs to the family Poecilidae. They are unique in that they keep the eggs of their young inside their body. The small platy hails from Central America. They are very social and prefer to be in a group near the surface of the water. Siamese fighting fish, or betta fish, inhabit waters in Cambodia and Thailand. They are some of the most colorful of the labyrinth fish. Their original color is a reddish-brown, but through breeding, the color scheme has spread from reds to blues to blacks, extending to the fins. While they are beautiful and graceful, the males are extremely aggressive. They will attack and tear each other's fins until one dies. 2 males cannot be put in the same tank together. They generally span 2 to 3 inches long. Angelfish, also known as scalar fish, are striking due to the arrow shape of their fins. They reach up to 6 inches long and 10 inches high. Species differ in the form of their fins and the appearance of their colors. They are native to the Amazon, from Peru to the Guianas. Llama angelfish possess a bright orange flame-colored body, which makes them recognizable even from a far distance. The native species of the Pacific Ocean can be found among the reefs and lagoons of Hawaii. Ram cichlids coast through the vegetation-rich waters of Venezuela and Colombia in pairs. They are unique in that both partners take care of their young. The zebrafish owes its name to the dark blue horizontal bands that cover its body. These slender fish live in schools and streams in South Asia, rivers in India and Pakistan, and measure up to 2 inches. Mandarin fish are among the most spectacular fish in the ocean. They are a tropical species native to the Pacific Ocean, inhabiting southwestern Japan, the Ryukyu Islands, and southern Australia. Their body is elongated and covered in vibrant colors that they seem phosphorescent. Their large pelvic fins are used for walking on the seafloor and often mistakenly seen as pectoral fins. Butterfly fish possess thin, elongated noses, a typical feature of their family Cauditonidae. They can be found in almost all regions of the Indo-Pacific. They measure 5 to 9 inches in length. We cannot leave without talking about the iconic and perennially popular goldfish. Chances are you may have had one as a pet or cared for one in a classroom. These freshwater fish of the cyprinid family, relatives of the carp, are originally from East Asia, where they were first bred over 1,000 years ago. They can measure up to 12 inches and live up to 10 to 15 years. Interestingly, goldfish can have a memory span of more than 3 months. They also have considerable associative learning and social learning abilities, and can develop a clear comfort level with their human owners, adding to their appeal as a favorite pet. And with that, our journey has come to an end. See you next time on Animal DNA, where we humans decode all the secrets of our friends in the animal kingdom to learn more about them and a little bit more about ourselves, too.